Hey gang, Mitch Matthews here, and thanks for joining me. I'm doing something a little bit different here with a video blog. Went to go and write some stuff today and just thought, you know what, I just want to talk with you about it. So kind of gotten fired up today. I had the opportunity to kind of take a unique, or just a few minutes of downtime, actually a couple hours of downtime, and just kind of dig into interviews. And I love interviews. Do you love interviews? I love interviews. I love to see where a great reporter or a good interviewer can sit down with someone and just kind of dive into their story, kind of find out more about maybe the genesis of a big idea, or maybe, hear about how something got started, or a setback or a big challenge or whatever. And I love what interviews can produce. It just allows people to kind of reflect a little bit on their life, maybe celebrate some accomplishments. Let me give you a couple of examples here. One of my favorites today was I came across an interview with Henry Ford, and a reporter was asking about kind of the history of the Model T, and they kind of asked him about the genesis of the idea. And one of the things that came about was he talked about that people thought he was nuts when he talked about that goal of having a Model T or having a car in every garage. He said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? They didn't want a car. They didn't even know that that was something they should be asking for. But he had that vision. He went after it and believed in it and saw it through. One of the other things, I saw another interview with a hero of mine, Sir Edmund Hillary, right? He and Tenzing Norgay were the first men to summit Everest. And I love this quote that a reporter pulled out of Sir Edmund Hillary. Basically, he said, he was asked about, kind of the reasons or the motivation for going after Everest. And he basically just boiled it down. I love this pearl. He said, people do not decide to become extraordinary. They decide to accomplish extraordinary things. I mean, I love that. And I love kind of what interviews can do as far as giving people that chance to tell their story, and maybe even, allow us to celebrate kind of the genesis of the beginning of a story, or, some of the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of that. Another resource that I came across today was something started by photographer Sam Jones. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. He's got offcamera.com. I totally recommend checking this out. This is something I came across today. And Sam Jones is just this incredible photographer. But what he's done is he's taken the opportunity with a number of the shoots, is he has taken the opportunity to do long form interviews with some of these incredible people that he gets to take pictures of. One of my favorites that I watched today was this long form interview with Robert Downey Jr. It's over an hour of conversation about Robert Downey Jr.'s life. And I love Robert Downey Jr. I mean, he's had some serious peaks and valleys to his life, but there's some true wisdom that just comes out in this interview, and one of the things that came out of this interview that I loved, that kind of blew me away, was that, Iron Man, the Iron Man trilogy, which I love, my boys love, right? All of that. He basically talked about that he had to try out he had to fight for a tryout, for crying out loud, to get that role. They couldn't see him in that role, and so he had to fight to actually even try out for that, which is just amazing. And so it was kind of fun to hear about, that kind of valley before major summit, for him. So yeah, I love interviews, and that got me thinking. I always love to encourage people. I believe that you're put here to do amazing things. And so one of the things I was thinking about today is that, I work with people one-on-one, and a lot of times I'll work with leaders and that type of thing to kind of help vision for their organization. Or I work one-on-one with people to help them kind of create a vision for their life, what I call a compelling vision for their life. And we do this kind of fun exercise with people sometimes called the interview. And what it does is it allows people to kind of think about an interview with a reporter in the future, 5 years in the future to be exact. And basically it kind of gives them the chance to think about how they might want to respond to a reporter's questions, if anything was possible, if everything was possible. And so I wanted to kind of throw a couple of these past you, especially since I've kind of been immersed in interviews today, is to think about, okay, in 5 years, what would you love to tell a reporter that you're up to? Think about it. Let's say you sit down with a Sam Jones, right? Who's this great guy asking great questions. What would be a few things you'd love to say that you're doing? Maybe it's things in your current industry, or maybe it'd be something totally and utterly different. Maybe it's something within your organization. Maybe it's, taking something within your organization to that next level, or maybe it's starting something totally new. Maybe it's volunteering. Maybe it's, who knows, maybe it's going someplace else in the world, living someplace else in the world. As you'd sit across from a reporter in 5 years, a reporter that was very interested in your story, what would you love to say that you're doing? What would you love to say that you've done? Would you love to say you've gone to a specific country? Would you love to have jumped out of a plane? I mean, it's amazing. I've gotten to work with a lot of college students and recent graduates here lately. I get to do a lot of speaking on college campuses, and it's amazing some of these dreams and goals that these students have. Just recently we had a student that is kind of nervous, and she was in a big group setting, a conference that we do called Succeed Faster. It's an incredible conference, but she was nervous, but she started to think about, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? And one of the things was she wanted to travel and she wanted to do an internship. And so she merged those and wound up scoring an internship in Germany. And it's just incredible. And it was because she was willing to think about, what are some of those things that I'd love to say that I've done? 5 years out, what might that be for you? What's something you would love to have experienced or achieved? Who would you have loved to have met? Or what would you love to have tasted? Is it, sitting along the Thames in London? Or is it sitting somewhere in a French cafe? Or is it, who knows what? What would you say you'd love to have done? What kind of people would you love to surround yourself with? What kind of people would you love to be working with in 5 years? Is it assembling a team and doing something extraordinary? Or is it something that, you're able to take the team that you're working with currently and taking it to that next level? Or maybe it's surrounding yourself with friends or family. Maybe it's even taking a Napoleon Hill's concept of creating a mastermind group and growing by spending time, quality time with just a few people intentionally. What would you say in 5 years if a reporter asked you about that? Who do you hang out with? Who inspires you? Who are you working with? How would you love to respond to that question? Give it some thought. What if you gave yourself that permission to think through those? What are you doing? What have you done? Who are you working with? What if you journaled that? What if you took the next couple of days or just found some quiet time and asked yourself those questions? What might happen? And then what if you just took that next step of saying, what could I do? What small but significant step could I take to make some of these things a reality? I can tell you, with working with people over and over and over again, doing this kind of activity, people are blown away by the power of getting clear on that compelling vision, getting clear on some of those things they actually want to do or accomplish or experience. And although 5 years seems like a long way out, it's amazing how just having some of those things clarified and then having a finish line in place, something to shoot for. It's amazing what you can accomplish. But it starts by having the guts to sit down and think about these kinds of questions and giving yourself that freedom to think about what would I love to say to a reporter in an interview in 5 years. Because I believe, just like Sir Edmund Hillary, I believe that you were put on this planet to do extraordinary things. And for those of us that are willing to think about some of those dreams and write them down and begin to put a plan in place to go after them, those are the people that make it happen. And I believe in you. I believe that you can do that. So I give you that challenge. Think about these questions. Think about it being 5 years from now. How would you like to respond to them? Conduct your own interview in the future, and then start to build a plan to make it happen. I believe in you. Bring your awesome. See what happens and keep us in the loop. Leave comments below. What's one thing you'd love to do? Or what's one thing you'd love to have done? Or who's somebody you'd love to hang out with in the next 5 years? Let us know. Leave us in the comments below. Let us know where you go with this. Can't wait to hear about it. And again, keep bringing your awesome. The world needs you.